Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time, for your energy. If you like what you hear, I would love for you to click the like button or the subscribe button. It will tell you when I upload new information. My purpose, quite simple, is to help you know yourself, to help you see you beyond your own limitations so that you can experience your life to the fullest. That is what brings me my greatest joy. So if you're into that sort of thing, I hope you stay. For those of you who are returning, thank you so much for being here. Without you, I wouldn't do this work. And I always say, I love what I do. I love what I do. I love helping you see yourself. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing this. And I probably wouldn't feel as fulfilled as I am when I do what I do. All right. So today we're going to talk about, oh, by the way, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. I have a very special announcement coming up in about a week or two. If you ever wanted to work with me in a certain way, I have something that I have created that I feel is going to immensely help you in becoming more of who you are. So if you're interested, go get the freebies that I have to help you transform, and you will automatically be signed up to my email list. And once you're on my email list, you'll get the notification. It's coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm super excited about it. All right. With all that being said, let's talk about the October 2nd eclipse, new moon eclipse. It, first and foremost, feels very regenerating to me. I know it's a very powerful energy, planetary wise speaking, but it's also very activating. I feel like there is a lot of activation that is going on. And what I mean by activation is certain aspects of us coming online. So it's like we are in a space where we are choosing to be more of ourselves. And when I say the word choosing, because it is a choice, being more of ourselves or to hold ourselves back, it is a choice. We don't necessarily always know we are making that choice. And this is where I come in to help you understand how you make your choices. A lot of the choices that you are making are unconscious choices. So we're not even conscious of our choosing. But the moment we realize that there is a choice, that's when new things can begin to happen. So there's always many choices in front of us. Sometimes we can't see the choices because of the perspective that we're looking from. So my aim is always to bring information that will ultimately, hopefully, help you shift your own perspective. And as you probably know, everything is about perspective. And we are in a massive change of perspectives. The whole world is undergoing a massive perspective change. And that's like the image I'm being given, that's like deep cleaning. We are being cleansed out of our own limiting patterns. And when something is cleansed, something tends to come up to the top. So I feel like with this eclipse, we are being asked to be courageous. And I actually had to look up, does one need to be confident in order to be courageous? No, actually, courage is the prerequisite for confidence. So you don't have to feel confident to be courageous, but once you practice being courageous, your confidence grows. And in practical terms, having confidence and courage, I would say it's a pretty big thing. So I'm going to go through 3 different piles. Each one will have an activating message for you. What do I mean activating? It's whatever information is going to come through me to you is going to be activating to you on an energetic level. I don't quite understand logically what that means, but that's what I'm supposed to say. I will use the word light codes. So I will be sharing with you apparently light codes, and these light codes are energy pockets that are contained within my voice. Again, my logical mind doesn't quite know what that means, but this is what I'm supposed to say. So you may actually feel some tingling in your body as you are listening to this message, and that's a sure sign that the message, quote unquote, hits home. If you find yourself getting a little bit emotional or maybe even uncomfortable, I'm hearing that's very normal, because this is a very high frequency that's coming through for you and to you. All you have to do is just be open. Here's what I want to say. Be open, but have your own discernment. If something doesn't feel right for you, or if something feels like it's not resonating, move it aside. It's not for you. If the message somehow makes you very emotional or upset, then that's because there's an emotion that's being activated, and it's coming out in order to show you that there is something for you might want to look at. Okay? And my aim is to always help you know yourself. So you might, through these activations, you might feel some emotions bubbling up to the top. That's actually a really, really good sign that the activation is, quote unquote, working. Okay. I wrote some things down here before we go through the piles. Collectively, we're in a process of releasing a lot of guilt. So if you have been holding on to guilt for a long time, and I'm sure guilt is not unfamiliar to you, this is an opportune time to let go of this guilt. The how, maybe that will come up in the messages, but letting go of guilt is huge right now, and guilt holds us back. So likely the new moon, and apparently the energies, or the eclipse, the energies of eclipse can go as long as 6 months from the actual eclipse. So between now and say 6 months from now, you will have an opportunity to release a lot of guilt. So if you've been holding onto guilt, and you would like to be without it, you might just ask the universe, okay, universe, help me release guilt, and then see what happens. You might be presented with information. You might be presented with people you meet who will help and guide you, or you might feel encouraged to ask someone to help you release guilt. And we all need somebody in our lives to help us move through something challenging. And letting go of guilt is not easy. It is. I personally know that it is a very difficult thing. We are being asked to move beyond our comfort zone. We are being asked to move beyond our comfort zone. Well, that requires courage, if you ask me. The message I received is this: it is safe and okay to be fully you. This energy is activating us so that we can become more full of ourselves, not the egoic selves, full of the light, because we are ultimately light in nature. And the message is, it is safe for us to feel or to be in our full nature. And if you are like any other person that I know, including myself, you probably hide yourself or have hidden yourself for various reasons. We do it predominantly for the sake of safety and security. So in order to feel safe and feel safe being full of yourself. You have to feel safe and secure. So it is safe for us to be full of our own light. Okay? So let's see what these messages hold for you. Let's start with pile number 1. What is it that's being activated for you? Anunnaki light codes, energetic shift, new information, end of a cycle. Okay, so if you're a pile 1, you are being initiated to a new phase of your life, and you are being given the right information, the tools, and the how-to in order to move to this new cycle. So a cycle is ending for you, no question about it. I mean, we are going through a massive cycle change, but for you, pile number 1, a cycle is ending. And what this means, what I'm seeing is that you are standing in a doorway. You are standing in a doorway between the old and between the new. And it feels like a lot of pressure. And I know that the October 2nd eclipse creates like this energetic pressure, planetary pressure. So you might be feeling a lot of pressure from inside, pressure from the outside, a lot of pressure, like many things are just coming at you. And eventually what I see you do is you move beyond that point and you end up in your quote unquote new cycle, and an end cycle just goes closed. This is a very powerful activation for you. Think of it this way. It's like you're going through a portal right now. You're not quite sure what that means to you, but you going through the portal essentially means that you are going through a process whereby by releasing and not resisting letting go of the old, you eventually experience more of the new. So this is you're in a space of letting go. So the pressure might be around letting go of something, some sort of formation. And I know that this is a new moon in Libra, if I'm not mistaken, and that is, I'm not an astrologer, and that is all about relationships. And the eclipse and the new moon is all about relationships. So you might be feeling some tense built up around relationships, with friends and family, and I certainly have seen that and experienced that with my clients, where certain things are needing to come up to the surface in order to be resolved and then or moved on from. So there will likely be severing of certain relationships, certain ties, certain associations you have had to other commitments, in order so that you can begin something new. It's a brand new journey for you. Many of the places that you are going to, as I'm foreseeing, are things that are unexplored by you. So you are definitely entering a new cycle, and there's a lot of newness. And when we enter a cycle where there is a lot of newness, it is a little bit uncomfortable because we just don't know. Most people are afraid of the unknown. This is nothing for you to be afraid of. Nothing. And the phrase, you ain't seen nothing yet. And this is regarding you. You are in a process of realizing more of your potential, yes, but you are in the process of really seeing you. And to see you is to also see your potential. As a being, you are unlimited. In a human form, you have certain limitations, and certainly the human mind is very, very limited. So you, pile number 1, are going through a process where a lot of your own self-imposed limitations, you're going to be looking at it and you're going to say, no, I don't want this anymore. I choose something else instead. So it's a lot of letting go, pile number 1. Message number 2, take your place. Okay, take your place. Let me just tune more to this. I want to say this to you. You are not alone on this journey, although it certainly may feel like it sometimes. For those of you who live alone, you don't have a lot of friends or family around you, or maybe right now, you may feel very alone at this time. If that's the case, I would nothing wrong with being alone, but sometimes it just doesn't feel great. I would encourage you to reach out to friends, to reach out to maybe some communities that will help you move through this alone time, because a lot of people feel alone these days. I mean, you can feel absolutely alone being surrounded by thousands of people. I don't think I have to explain that. But you are going through a process of clearing, and that may make you feel a little bit alone. You may also feel like you're being left out. The feeling of being left out, and there is some wound that's coming up for you around, unhealed wound around being being abandoned. Thank you. So for some of you in pile number 1, abandonment stuff is likely to come up to the surface. Sometimes I'm being reminded we hold on to relationships because of the fear of being abandoned, but the relationships don't serve us anymore. And you are at this, I believe we all are, but you are in a space where you are coming up to this crescendo, and you're being asked to really evaluate and reevaluate your friendships and your relationships. And the question that wants to come is, what am I getting from that? Now, it may sound selfish, but at the end of the day, we are in relationships because we're getting something out of it. That's just the way it is. It's a give and take. It's never just one-sided. But oftentimes we get caught up in guilt, for example, and we stay in places or relationships that don't serve us. There's a bell that's being rung, and that says, training wheels are over. It's now time for you to stand on your own 2 feet, to not be so afraid of being yourself. And this may mean for some of you, and I've seen this with clients, where you're going to say something that you've always wanted to say, but you never had the courage to say. It's like a part of you says, enough is enough. I can't take this anymore. And you cut the cord. So some relationships are for seasons, some relationships are for reasons, and all relationships serve us. But at a certain point, certain relationships have served, and then we have to move on. So pile number 1, you are most definitely moving on. No question about it. How can you take care of yourself? What's the best way for you to take care of yourself? You have the message of honor. Care for your soul. Honor the divinity within you by practicing extreme self-care. Okay. Sometimes we rely too much on other people to take care of our emotional needs. And although people absolutely contribute to our emotional needs, safety and security, we have to be able to find that from within. So, example, if you have been in a relationship that hasn't been serving, and you are the one that constantly keeps quiet because you don't want to rock the boat, that's you putting a lot of pressure on yourself to be a certain way in order so that someone doesn't leave you, and that doesn't feel very good. It just doesn't feel very good. So what happens, or what's going to happen with regards to self-care, to recognize that doing something is no longer serving you or is actually detrimental for you is one of the best things you can do, because seeing it allows you to do something about it. If you can't see something, you can't do anything about it. So you might be confronted with something. Someone may confront you, and you will find yourself in a situation where, like, okay, all bets are off. I'm just going to speak my truth. So that's how you can take care of yourself, is by recognizing what your truth is and by demonstrating that your truth is important and it is important for you and very valid for you to feel what you feel. Someone doesn't have to accept what you feel, but it's important for you to address what you feel. It's going to make you feel better. You're no longer going to be hiding behind this facade that you feel you need to be in order to, control somebody not leaving you. What you're basically doing is you're saying, I matter. I matter. So pile number one, of course you matter. If you didn't matter, you wouldn't be created. But you may feel like your words don't matter, like you don't matter. Oh, you matter a lot. So take care of yourself by realizing that you matter. You are important. Your truth is important. Not everybody has to agree with your truth, but it is your truth. If it wasn't your truth, if it wasn't important, it wouldn't be your truth. Stop looking for validation from outside sources to help you feel good about yourself. Now, I'm going to say this. People absolutely do help us feel good about ourselves. Yeah, I mean, when I connect with you and I see the comments that you're sharing and they're so positive, that makes me feel good. I like how that feels. Where was I going with this? I forgot where I was going with this. But yes, feeling important is important for you to know, pile one. Being heard, feeling like you're being heard. If you are in a relationship, for example, where you feel like you're not being heard, well, there's few things that might be happening. Someone is not listening to you, or they may be listening, but they're not hearing. It could be that your communication style is not working. It could be that the way you communicate needs to shift. So there is some message here around needing to be more precise with your words. Pile number one, be more precise with your words. Speak your truth, be more precise with your words. Be kind when you speak, but speak. Speak. So pile number one, a lot of it is about you speaking. All right, let's see what we have for pile number two. All right, pile number two, let's see what's being activated for you during this eclipse. Stargate heart chakra opening, unlocking generosity. This is a big activation for you, pile number two. As the message says, you are in a process of opening your heart. But here's the words I want to say. You are in a process of reopening your heart, which means at some point, your heart was open and then it closed, and you are in the process of reopening that again. In order for you to reopen that, you have to deal with whatever it was that made your heart close down. Okay, so there is some situation that you are likely going to be working through over the next 6 to 8 months. One of the things that I'm hearing is the idea of not being appreciated. Perhaps you feel that you're not being appreciated. Perhaps you were not appreciated at some point and then you decided to close down. Not appreciated feels very much to me similar like a rejection. If not feeling appreciated feels to me like I don't belong, like I don't matter, like I'm not important, I'm taken for granted. So pile number two, you are likely someone who feels like you're being taken for granted. Maybe you are. And if you are being taken for granted, and you continue to feel like you're being taken for granted, you need to ask yourself this question. Why do I continue feeling like that? In other words, what is feeding this belief in me that I don't matter, that I am not important. And likely what it means is that you, in your life, somewhere in your life, particularly right now, this is going to be shown to you in the next 6 to 8 months, you're going to start seeing how it's not so much that other people don't appreciate you. I mean, they may not, but it's more to do with you not appreciating yourself. When you don't appreciate yourself, you tend to take yourself for granted. If you take yourself for granted, it's like giving instructions for others how to be with you. What does it mean to take yourself for granted? It simply means you don't feel about you that you are important. Now, I'm not talking about the egotistical maniac type stuff. I'm talking about you as a being are important. If you were not important, you wouldn't have been created. I spoke about that in pile number 1, so you might want to check into pile 1 because there's a little bit of a similarity there. The universe, God, source, whatever name you want to call it, would have not created you if you were not important. You are part of this universal fabric. You are important. Do you feel important? They're saying describe what we mean by feeling important. Simply, it's this, you know what, I matter. I'm good. I have my quirks, I have this, I have that, but I matter. I matter. Pile number 2, I feel like you feel or you believe you don't matter. And perhaps that is what closed your heart. So I would encourage you, if you resonate with this, to really look at your belief systems in terms of your own value. What do you see yourself in terms of value, right? I often give this example. If you were to sell real estate, you wouldn't purposely lower down the value of your real estate. Like, why would you do that? Unless you want to just get rid of it. But generally speaking, if you're having a piece of real estate, you want to get a fair value for it. Why would you want to devalue your investment? Same applies to you. Pile number 2, how do you devalue yourself? What does your belief system say about you in terms of your own value? It's really important for you to examine those. Now remember, how you value yourself or don't value yourself is a recipe for others how to value or not value you. So if you don't feel valued, it's likely because you don't fully value yourself yet, which means I want to say you don't know who you are, because if you knew who you are, I promise you would not only value yourself, you would begin to believe that you are exquisite. And I don't mean the human ego. Oh, look at me, I'm all that. Beyond that. So pile number 2, belief systems around your value. Very important. Listen the world open. Listen the world open. I'm going to show you this. It's an interesting message. Doesn't quite compute. But it does speak about listening. Now here's something interesting. What is your heart trying to tell you right now? Now, if your heart is not open, you might have challenges listening to your heart. If your heart is not open, you might be living very much in your head. And what lives in our head is a lot of stories. Some of these stories are wonderful. Some of these stories are very limiting. If you live in your head and there's a lot of limiting stories, then you live in your own limitations. Your heart, on the other hand, has no limits. It's boundless. Okay? When we live in our head, we predominantly live out of fear, because the mind, the ego tries to figure out, how do I stay safe? How do I stay safe? How do I survive? Examine your own stories and belief systems around survival. For example, if you deeply believe that in order for you to survive is to be with a person that is abusive to you, then you have to really look at your belief systems. Now, these are generally very deeply ingrained because logically speaking, you wouldn't do that. But humans do it. Humans do it a lot. We do things we do things that we know are not working, yet we do them anyway. And it's likely because we're afraid that if we let that go, something bad is going to happen. That's a belief system. So you're being encouraged to really look at your own belief system, especially in heart chakra and your solar plexus. And there's a line that's being drawn between your solar plexus and your heart chakra. And what this means to me is that there is or was almost like a blockage, energetic blockage. What does that mean? First and foremost, and this is not for everybody, but if this makes sense to you, this will resonate with you. You need more sleep, okay? For some of you, you are running on borrowed energy. Is it really because you have so much to do, or is it really because you're trying to avoid something? Pile number 2, what are you avoiding right now? It's a tough one, because if you're avoiding it, you have a reason for it. Confront the very thing you're trying to avoid right now. If you've avoided, for example, a very difficult situation, you've had your reason for it, or if you avoided a very difficult conversation, a challenging conversation, if you avoided that, then you have your reason for it. Avoidance will not make a challenge go away. Avoidance is only going to minimally prevent you from doing something about it right now, but it's always going to be there. And right now, pile number 2, you are being asked to be courageous and to no longer avoid difficult conversations. So obviously you have something to say to somebody. Maybe it's a conversation you need to have with yourself. Maybe you're realizing that you have not taken care of yourself as best as you could. And that implies that you don't know yourself, because if you don't know yourself, how do you know what you need? But 2, if you know you need something, but then you don't give it to yourself, then you're constantly trying to fill that void. For a moment throughout the day, take a deep breath. Of course, if you're not busy doing something, and ask yourself this question. This is a very important question. Why do I do what I do? Why do I choose to do what I do? And then notice what comes up. Doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to come up with some terrible answer. It's just know why you do what you do. Be conscious of why you do what you do. If you're avoiding a situation, ask the question why. Why you're avoiding it. Because whatever it is, avoidance is just running away from something that you need to face. And if you need to face something, you need to face it eventually. You don't want to get to the point where, things blow up unnecessarily. So pile number 2, avoidance. Why do you avoid things? I could give so many different examples. Why do you avoid taking better care of yourself, for example? Of course, this is not for everybody. If you know that you need more sleep, but you're not creating an environment where you can give yourself more sleep, then that means that you are not in control of your life. We could just say it that way. Now, I know someone will say, well, I have 4 jobs and I have family and I have all of this. No denying that. We're all busy. Here's the thing. You can be as busy as you want. Eventually, what's going to happen, you're going to run out of fuel. And all the busyness is not going to matter because you're not going to be healthy enough or energized enough to do all those things. So the responsibility always comes back to you, first and foremost. What are your own needs right now that you are not meeting, or are you avoiding meeting? Okay. Simple example. Are you avoiding to go to the gym even though you think you should, because it would make you feel better, it would make you feel more confident, it would expel some of that energy that you are picking up throughout the day? You know it's good for you. Why do you avoid it? Some of it is habit. Some of it is perhaps you're avoiding it because you don't really believe that you are important enough to take care of yourself. If that's your answer, you have to look at your belief systems. Okay? What do you need? Receive. When we open ourselves up to others, we open ourselves up to the abundance of the universe. Okay? If your heart is closed, you are likely, or if you've had your heart closed for a while, and you've had your reasons, you were not as receptive to receiving. I always say, the universe always wants to give you. We humans have a tendency to try to figure out, what does that mean? Well, oftentimes the logical mind cannot comprehend how the universe works because it's not meant to comprehend. It's too big. How the universe works is so big, the human mind cannot comprehend it. And that's okay. We're here to be humans. But when your heart is closed, you're not as open to receiving. The universe may be giving you everything that you need, but if you're not open to it, you're not going to have it. So the trick to you receiving what you want is first asking yourself the question, how am I limiting or standing in my way from receiving it? How am I standing in my own way from receiving it? Because the universe is all abundant. The universe knows no lack. Okay? And then what ends up happening is you end up starting to have a little bit of a conversation with yourself, and you begin to realize that perhaps the way you stand in the way of receiving abundance, for example, is that you don't believe that you're worth it. And we have to look at your worth belief system. Okay? If you're someone who is wanting to experience a lot more love in your life, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to be open enough to receive more love? And if I'm not receiving this love right now, and love is all around us, I know, from the universal perspective, how are you standing in your way of not letting love in? How do you stand in your own way of not letting love in? Because love wants to come to you. This is who you are. I'll tell you one thing, if your heart is closed because you're afraid for whatever reason, and you have your valid reasons, you're not going to be open to receiving. Okay? I could say it's simple law of attraction. Yes, it's law of attraction. You have to be aligned with whatever it is that you want. And if you are not aligned with receiving more love, then you have to ask yourself, how can I make myself be more aligned? If you're not aligned with receiving greater love, then you're aligned with something else. You're aligned with lack of it. Why are you aligned with that? Okay. Anything else? Trees. I see a lot of trees. Pine trees. Look at pine tree oil, and see what the benefits of it are, because I'm smelling pine oil. Perhaps you have a cold, and pine oil somehow will help you with that, but it's very clearing. I actually have to look it up. The pine oil feels very clearing. So look into some essential oils in terms of pine tree and see what the characteristics are. And it's also a message for you to share with you to be a lot more in nature. And when you're in nature, do yourself a favor. Quiet your mind. Go up to a tree. Touch the leaf. And just allow yourself to be purely present with what you're feeling in your fingers. And that's all I'm supposed to say. Well, okay. Some of you may hear tree talking back to you. Your mind is going to go, oh my God, this is crazy. I just made that up. I wouldn't just say. I know some of you have said to me that you do communicate with nature, because we can. Nature communicates with us all the time, not through verbs, not through voice, because nature doesn't have a throat. It's with energy. We can communicate with anything because we're energetic beings. We're all surrounded by energy. But when you quiet yourself, when you quiet your mind, when you fill your heart, and that's a lot easier to do in nature, and you commune with a tree, don't be surprised when you hear tree talking back to you, and then give it your appreciation for being there. In other words, hey tree, I really appreciate you being here. Why? Well, for one, it helps you have oxygen. So spend some time in nature, commune with nature, communicate with nature. There's something about essential oils for some of you, so you might be dabbling in essential oils, some sort of aromatherapy type thing. So this may be something that's for you. All right, so that's what I have for you, pile number 2. All right, pile number 3, let's see what we have for you. What I'm healing right away, excuse me, is that you are very artistic in nature, but you have been pushing it down. So this is not going to be for everybody, but if it rings true for you, then there's a bit of a ding, 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 ding. It's time for you to let that out, okay? I also just talked about being in nature, pile number 2, and I feel that you, pile number 3, would really benefit from listening to pile number 2, particularly towards the end, okay? Each year closes off, each year is a cycle. So we're in cycles all the time. Nature is in cycle, women's cycles, everything is cyclical in nature. You are coming up to an end of a cycle. No surprise there, the whole world is. And because of this coming up to an end of a cycle, there's a natural birth of a new cycle. And I feel for you, specifically pile number 3, it has to do something with artistic abilities. So you may be actually someone who is very much left brain in terms of what you do for a living, but you might have this feel for wanting to experience something much more flowy, much less resisting, dare I say artistic. And notice even what I'm doing with my hands. I'm being just very flowy versus very, very, very rigid. So you are very, very likely starting a cycle where you will begin to feel a lot more feely touchy. Now that's really good, because to me this symbolizes allowing more of your divine feminine to come online. Whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. It's more touchy feeling. It's more heart space. It's more open-hearted. So that's what I'm getting for you, first and foremost, that there is something very artistic about you. All right, in terms of what you are being activated with, crown chakra upgrade, divine connection, holy experiences, miraculous energy. Part of the symptoms, or one of the symptoms of this activation, is you forgetting things. Okay, so you might be temporarily going through a space where you are forgetting what you've done 10 minutes ago. I know I went through that period, and apparently it's a very normal part of the process of our brain being almost rewired with these higher frequencies. So you may temporarily feel like you're getting Alzheimer's, or you may actually go, oh my God, I think I'm getting Alzheimer's. I mean, I can't say for sure with everybody, but 99.999999% of you are not getting the symptoms of Alzheimer's. You are simply outgrowing your old mind. Okay? And I've had people say to me that they would be driving and all of a sudden, completely sober, all of a sudden they forget who they are in the middle of a street. I had that experience a few times. It's scary. It's very scary. So it can feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it's a process you're going to go through, and eventually it's not going to happen all the time. But when it happens, it's a little bit alarming. Just know that you're safe. I don't think you're going to check out and driving a car and you get into an accident. I don't get that. But when it happens in those moments, you may have that feeling, because it's a very real sensation. Like all of a sudden you don't know where you are. It's let's just say it's not comfortable. So you might experience some of these alarming symptoms as part of this activation. Okay. Crown chakra upgrade. Okay, that even the card says this. Divine connection, holy experiences, miraculous energy. Okay, so let me just tune in. Relax your body for a moment and ask your body this question. What do you need from me? What does your body need from you right now? And you will have different answers, but what I'm getting is, I just want to experience more peace. Who doesn't? Peaceful mind is peaceful body. Peaceful body means a lot less stress. Stress is very disharmonious to our physical being when prolonged. Peace is much more alkalizing. Peace is great. Your body is asking you to create space in your life so that you can have moments of peace. We live in a very busy world. I'll be the first one to tell you. And sometimes finding pockets of peace can be difficult. But if peace is important to you, and it sounds like it is, you need to carve out some space in your everyday life to give yourself some quiet moments, even 5 minutes, to give yourself some space for, I just want peace. Now, of course, there are so many things happening in the world. Some of them are the complete opposite of peace, and it's hard to feel peace when we are surrounded by chaos. That takes a skill. You are not being asked to sit on a mountain and meditate for 12 hours a day. No, that's not going to be practical for most of you. But what is being asked of you is to spend some moments being quiet with yourself. You will be amazed at what your heart wants to tell you. You'll be amazed. You do know that you can speak with your heart, right? I mean, I've done this with myself and with other people. You can literally communicate with your heart. Maybe one time I'm gonna share that exercise with you. But creating space in your life for quiet moments, so that you can hear yourself, not just your thoughts, but you can hear yourself, and you live beyond your thoughts. So if you're constantly in your thoughts, you're not always hearing yourself and your true self, your higher self, your soul. Let's use that analogy. Really needs you to pay attention right now. Your soul is like, hey, pay attention to me. I have something really important to say to you. You might want to listen. Okay, these feelings often come with big life changes. Not bad changes, but changes nonetheless. I feel like you two are dealing with a bit of avoidance. You're keeping yourself busy because you're trying to avoid something. So just like in pile number 2, I think, or maybe pile number 1, and overall, this eclipse is no longer avoiding. So make sure that you don't avoid spending time with yourself because you are not wanting to listen. if that's the case, why would you not want to listen to what your soul, what your heart has to say? Is it perhaps because it might say something that you don't like? No, it's not that. It's likely because you're afraid you're going to hear something, and that means you're going to have to do something about a situation. Here's the thing. You don't have to do anything about anything if you don't want to. That's your choice. However, hearing yourself and knowing yourself and knowing your truth and not denying it is very important. So, your heart always speaks truth. Your head tells you primarily stories. Your heart, your soul, your spirit really wants to communicate with you right now. It has something really important to say. So practicing time with yourself is going to get you closer and closer to that space where you can finally truly hear yourself, not just the chatterbox. Okay? Really, really important. Howl with fierceness. I feel this message can apply to everybody, but here's what I want to say. You're not here to hide. Well, none of us are here to hide. Yet we're all hiding in our own ways. We hide primarily for one reason, to feel safe, because we're afraid. If you have been hiding from yourself, pile number 3, I don't feel you're not going to be able to hide anymore. It's like there is some truth that wants to come up, and it's like, hey, I'm your truth. You're going to hear me, like it or not. Maybe not that quite that drastic, but there's some deeper truth that wants to come out. It behooves you to spend time with yourself, just the way they're repeating it. It behooves you to spend time with yourself, particularly over the next 4 to 5 months. So October, November, December, January. Between now and January and February. Really, really important. Here's why. Many of you listening to this are likely going to be stepping on a different track. It's like you're going forward and you're going to be making choices or decisions to put yourself on a different trajectory. This is life-changing. And in a good way, and it's for some of you, it's a little bit unfamiliar territory, but it's not entirely unfamiliar. If you're hearing this, pile number 3, what's being activated in you right now is some old information, some ancient technology. Earlier I was receiving downloads about pyramids and things like that, and maybe you are being activated with ancient Egyptian knowledge with respect to sacred geometry or things like that. There's something new that's coming up. It's very blue in nature. The energy, the feel of it is very blue. Blue to me is knowledge, it's healing. It's like you're being activated like a tree of knowledge. Tree of knowledge. So you have some knowledge you brought with you, and it's coming up right now. Okay, and it's an ancient knowledge. It's a very traditional knowledge for some reason. I hear Himalayan, so that's Tibet somewhere there. Some ancient wisdom. If you're here and you have that within you, which apparently you do, you're here to share it. If you hide, you can't share. You're here to share, pile number 3. What you're here to share? Your wisdom. Does that mean you have to stand with a megaphone and share wisdom to, at the top of your lungs? No. But it does mean sharing wisdom in your own unique way. It could be as simple as being in a lineup in a grocery store and I don't know, somebody's standing in front of you and you tap them on the shoulder and they turn around and you say, hey, I just wanted to say, I really like your coat, or whatever it is. And you saying that to the person in front of you just made their day. That's exactly what they needed to hear. And they're like, because your energy is very balancing. You have a very balancing energy about you. It's a very soothing energy if you resonate with this. It's no coincidence that people are drawn to you. So if you're someone and you feel like people are drawn to you, it's likely because you're very magnetic. If that's the case, you are probably someone who is very empathy. You pick up a lot of people's energies, and perhaps that's why you're hiding. You're going to have to find ways to create some energetic boundaries where the outside world is not going to overwhelm you. Okay? So, talking about overwhelm, you needing to spend time alone, there's something there. Life can be overwhelming, and it often is very overwhelming. But you being a sensitive being on top of that can feel extra overwhelmed. So there's a two-pronged message here. One, spending time with yourself, but the other one is making sure that you create really strong, good, energetic boundaries. Perhaps you're someone who doesn't have boundaries, which I could see why you're hiding, because if you don't have boundaries, then people just come at you. And no, you need your own space. Learning how to create your own space, pile number 3, is really important. And that has several meanings, but whatever that means to you, learning how to create your own space, in particular your energetic space, is very important. In other words, learn how to be in your own energy and learn what is your energy and what is somebody else's energy. And that takes a long time to figure out. Because if you're an empath, a lot of the times you'll be getting things from other people, emotions, feelings, and you will think that they're yours. A lot of them are not yours, but you've learned to identify with other people's feelings and emotions. And I could see why you'd want to close yourself off, because who wants all of that? So, pile number 3, no more hiding. What can you do for you? This is how you take care of yourself. Rest. Pile number 3, you need rest. We all do. You need deep rest. It's almost like you're not getting enough deep REM. I have terrible time sleeping lately. Well, it's been going on for months, but sleep is almost like, what's sleep? And I used to be such a good sleeper. Like, oh my, I could sleep anytime, anywhere, in any weather. Not anymore, and I believe it has a lot to do with these energies. Some say it's solar flares. Pile number 3, you need a lot of deep rest. If you need to do meditations, or if you need to do some breathing techniques, I know some pretty good breathing techniques, being also a breathwork facilitator, that can help calm down your nerves, help calm down your busy thinking, help calm down your body. And this would have to be practiced every day for it to become your norms. It's not just going to happen like that. I mean, yes, breathing will have immediate benefits, but it's something that you might want to look at in terms of doing something every day, doing some sort of calming routine before bed so that you can sleep deeply. If that means having a relaxing bath with some essential oils, lavender, nothing too energizing but calming, then you do that, or put a little bit something around your nose. I actually talked about oils in pile number 2, so there's an overlap there. But deep rest, pile number 3, is really, really important to you to hear. So if you are overtaxing, and sometimes when we're overtaxed, we can't sleep because our nervous system is constantly like this. You, forgive me for being so blunt, chill the F down. Pile number 3, chill the F down. And I'm not saying it to be flippant. This is how it wants to come through me. You need to chillax a little bit more. And even as I'm saying this, there's this wave of energy, this wave of calmness. Okay? I think that's all I have for you, pile number 3. Is there anything else? There is some forgiveness work that you might want to look at. I'm just going to leave it at that for pile number 3. If there's some stuff that you are holding on to in terms of forgiving or not forgiving someone, it's time to let it go. Maybe that's what's keeping you up at night. Maybe you're someone who's trying to constantly prove yourself to others, and you've done that millions of times already, but it's like never enough. If you're someone who's trying to prove something to somebody, what are you trying to prove? A. And number 2, who are you trying to prove it to? Who are you trying to prove it to? And there's something there for you need to look at. Sometimes we are still trying to get approval from our parents, but we're in our 30s, 40s, and 50s. We don't need their approval. So you might want to look at that pile number 3. There is something there. Okay? And that's all I have for you. I hope this was helpful. I have another wonderful video coming up. I had a QHHT session done a couple of weeks ago, so that's going to be a next video. The interview is going to be interesting, so you'll hear me sharing some of my experiences from the QHHT session. All right, everybody. Again, make sure you're on my mailing list so that you don't miss the wonderful announcement and surprise that I am making in a couple of weeks. Get yourself those freebies down there, and underneath, and you will get you'll be on my mailing list. Until then, have yourself a fabulous weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.